If you're only going to take one thing from this video with you, take this. During the Middle Ages, syphilis was known as the French disease. Why, you ask? Let's find out. Sexually transmitted diseases have existed alongside human societies for as long as humans themselves. Over 2 million years ago, human ancestors, including early Homo sapiens around 300,000 years ago in Africa, lived in isolated regions. As social structures evolved and mobility increased, diseases spread more easily. Close living quarters and communal activities in tribes helped disease transmission. It is thought that some sexual diseases may have even originated from animals through zoonosis, where germs or parasites from local fauna transferred to humans via hunting or food preparation. Syphilis, for example, is believed to have originated from an animal source, adapting over time to humans. Researchers even think that Christopher Columbus's crew may have introduced syphilis to Europe. The agricultural revolution about 10,000 years ago transformed human societies, leading to a rise in diseases, including STDs. Settling in one place, humans domesticated animals, increasing disease transmission from animals. Diseases once limited to small groups could now spread widely. Poor sanitation also helped diseases spread. Historical records even indicate outbreaks in Asia, Africa, and Europe, with symptoms resembling modern STDs as long as 12,000 years ago. And now, the first era, ancient Mesopotamia, flourished between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers and is often called the cradle of civilization. Around 4000 BC, city-states like Sumer, Akkad, and Babylon emerged, fostering economic and cultural exchanges that spread STDs. Medical texts from the era mention illnesses causing painful urination or genital inflammation. Archaeological findings, including clay tablet writings, reveal Mesopotamians' understanding of various ailments, with symptoms resembling STDs. King Hammurabi, known for his code, provides one of the earliest references to healthcare practices, possibly linked to disease control. Sadly, Mesopotamians had a brief medical understanding, mainly using herbal remedies, prayers, and basic surgeries to cure their willy pain. As Mesopotamian city-states expanded, their trade routes linked them with distant lands, and thus distant nasty diseases. And nasty places, like ancient Greece, for example. The history of sexually transmitted diseases in ancient Greece is indeed intricate. Known for advancements in philosophy, democracy, and arts, Greece was also a hub for medical study. Greek records from the 5th century BC, including those by Hippocrates, mention ailments resembling STDs. Medical writings from the era describe symptoms like skin lesions and ulcers, consistent with STDs. Ancient Greek traders and soldiers who traveled widely may have also spread sexual infections, and most probably did so. Hippocrates also documented various ailments, laying groundwork for future medical inquiry. Many symptoms were attributed to humoral imbalances, a dominant theory in Greek medicine, rather than specific pathogens. They emphasized balancing the 4 humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Despite being outdated by modern standards, this theory guided treatment and health perceptions for centuries. Misunderstandings about diseases were inevitable, but crucial for early medical literature. The integration of Greek medical practices with those of conquered regions during Alexander the Great's conquests expanded medical knowledge and possibly STD transmission. Greek physicians, encountering unusual symptoms upon returning home, might have documented these observations, broadening understanding. However, lacking genetic or microbial insights hindered accurate identification of diseases like syphilis or gonorrhea. Only in later centuries did precise scientific methods emerge, improving comprehension. Ancient Greek medicine's legacy, emphasizing rational inquiry and clinical practice, significantly shaped health sciences. Greek mythology and literature complicate the historical understanding of STDs even further. Stories of divine punishment for sexual transgressions reflect societal attempts to comprehend diseases in sexually active communities. Circe's tale, where Odysseus's men are turned into swine, suggests allegorical warnings about sexual indulgence. Lacking scientific knowledge, outbreaks were often seen as divine retribution. This blend of mythology and medicine imposed a moral framework on the topic. Myth's allegorical nature obscured clear medical diagnoses, adding complexity to scientific interpretations. Burial site findings hint at skeletal deformities possibly linked to congenital syphilis. Sexually liberal practices, such as symposiums involving diverse sexual activities, also spread infections. And what better place to visit next than ancient Rome, where you just know that they're getting down with all kinds of nasty things, including banana rotting. Yes, the origins of STDs in ancient Rome offer insights into Roman society, medicine, and daily life. Brothels, integral to Roman culture, were hotspots for disease transmission. While the law recognized prostitutes through taxation, there was no regulation to curb disease spread. This lack of control allowed infections to bloom, making STDs a pervasive aspect of Roman life. Roman physicians, including Galen, documented ailments resembling modern STDs. Galen described symptoms akin to gonorrhea. Diagnostic methods were basic, often involving examination of bodily fluids. Public health was primitive. Crowded urban centers like Rome exacerbated these issues. The acceptance of sexual freedom, especially among men, played a major role in the whole spreading issue. Roman men often had multiple partners, including slaves and prostitutes, heightening infection risks. Cultural emphasis on virility and masculine prowess likely fueled the spread. Although personal hygiene was recognized, it wasn't practiced with germ theory knowledge, increasing disease spread. Roman baths, social hubs definitely aided infection transmission, as hot water and communal bathing were ideal for bacteria and viruses. Treatments were rudimentary, often rooted in superstition rather than science. Remedies included wine and herb ointments, believed to cleanse but likely offering little relief. The Roman military also played a significant role in spreading STDs. Roman legions, consisting of thousands of men, were constantly on the move, expanding the Roman Empire. This mobility, coupled with long deployments, often led soldiers to engage in sexual activities with local populations. The lack of prophylactics facilitated the easy transmission of infections, which soldiers could then unwittingly spread across regions. Romans did not categorize sexually transmitted diseases distinctly, viewing them as general ailments. This lack of specific identification further impeded effective outbreak control. Consequently, STDs became embedded in the social fabric of the Roman Empire. Although detailed medical records from the era are scarce, contemporary findings suggest these diseases significantly influenced population dynamics, affecting health, military campaigns, and societal structure. Next up, the always dirty Middle Ages. The Middle Ages, spanning 500 to 1500 AD, were a period of significant change across Europe, characterized by migration, conflicts, and trade routes, which all facilitated the spread of various sexual diseases. The Church wielded significant influence, strictly regulating sexuality and deeming deviations sinful. This repression fostered environments for clandestine spread of STDs, as open discussions were stifled. Despite condemnation, prostitution thrived in medieval towns, sometimes managed by local authorities to control venereal disease, highlighting a conflict between morality and necessity. These establishments, despite regulation attempts, were hubs for disease transmission. Limited medical knowledge and lack of effective treatments allowed diseases to spread unchecked. Misunderstandings about contagion led to viewing these diseases as divine punishment, resulting in stigma and affecting treatment and social interactions. This stigma caused the alienation of individuals and communities suspected of harboring such diseases. Medieval physicians often confused diseases, applying ineffective treatments. The leprosy scare led to misdiagnosing STD patients, isolating them in leper colonies. These colonies, intended to curb disease spread, often grouped people indiscriminately, worsening disease spread. Crusades and military campaigns across Europe and the Middle East also significantly contributed to the spread of these diseases. Soldiers, merchants, and pilgrims unknowingly carried infections. Cities and towns, where travelers gathered, became hotspots for infections, severely affecting urban populations. As communities battled these diseases, the need for better medical understanding became clear, paving the way for significant advancements in epidemiology and public health. But why was syphilis called the French disease? Syphilis spread rapidly during the French invasion of Naples in 1495, marking one of Europe's first major STD outbreaks and influencing medical studies and public health. The early modern period saw global connectivity accelerate the spread of these infections through exploration, colonization, and trade. Gonorrhea appeared in medical literature by 1320 in medieval Europe, though it likely affected earlier populations. The bacterium Neisseria gonorrhoeae spreads through intimate contact, remaining a significant global health issue. Herpes' viral origins were recognized in the early 20th century, though the disease existed much earlier. And now, let's move forward in time, because time is of the essence. The late 18th century marked a pivotal era in understanding and managing sexually transmitted diseases due to scientific advancements and socio-political influences. Scottish surgeon John Hunter made significant contributions to venereal disease research, despite mistakenly conflating gonorrhea and syphilis. His surgical techniques and observations laid the groundwork for future studies. Technological advancements, such as Antony van Leeuwenhoek's invention of the microscope in the late 1600s, paved the way for bacteriological research, significantly enhancing STD understanding. By the mid-1800s, microscopes began revealing diseases' microbial origins. This period also saw increased advocacy for clinical research and education on STD prevention and treatment, as medical societies expanded their focus to include these critical health issues. As medical knowledge advanced, efforts to control STDs evolved, often shaped by the era's morals and biases. The 18th century Enlightenment shifted views from mystical to scientific explanations of health. However, diseases like syphilis were stigmatized as moral failings rather than medical issues. Urbanization and mobility in this period facilitated STD spread, with seaports as key transmission hubs. Sailors often interacted with local populations, inadvertently spreading diseases globally. Scientific advances gradually dispelled misconceptions. The late 1800s introduced experimental approaches to infections, leading to systematic studies and the dawn of modern bacteriology. Healthcare professionals recognized the need for specialized STD clinics, establishing basic facilities for targeted care, though public education and acceptance lagged. By the 19th century, medical understanding of STDs improved, yet public health policies mirrored societal prejudices. Britain's Contagious Diseases Acts targeted women, neglecting broader health challenges and perpetuating stigma, hindering effective disease control. Military health became a priority during colonial expansion, with screenings for soldiers, though civilians had limited access to treatment and education. On the other hand, industrialization and the growth of prostitution in cities led to increased STD spread, particularly among the working class. San Francisco faced similar challenges during the gold rush, with its transient population and growing brothels prompting local health ordinances akin to European measures. In the late 19th century, advancements in science and public health transformed the understanding and treatment of STDs. Pioneers like Robert Koch and Louis Pasteur developed germ theory, revolutionizing the approach to infectious diseases. This shift enabled the identification of specific pathogens, guiding research towards targeted cures and prevention. In 1879, Albert Neisser discovered Neisseria gonorrhea, marking a milestone in STD research. The rise of public health organizations and social hygiene movements emphasized outreach and education on STD prevention. These efforts aimed to equip communities with knowledge and resources to combat disease spread. Urban centers in Europe and North America began establishing public health infrastructure, including clinics and educational programs focused on STDs. Women played a prominent role, with nurses and social workers leading education and care initiatives. Societal attitudes towards sexual health issues were slow to evolve, and stigmatization persisted into the 20th century. The medical community gradually recognized the necessity of integrating social and medical strategies in STD control. All in all, the 20th century marked significant advancements in understanding STDs, with breakthroughs in diagnosis and treatment. Rapid advancements in medical science transformed the understanding and treatment of STDs. Dr. Thomas Perrin, U.S. Surgeon General in 1936, developed public health campaigns to combat venereal diseases, which surged during World War I and the Great Depression. Perrin's initiatives laid the foundation for modern sexual health education by reducing stigma and promoting awareness and testing. Alexander Fleming's 1928 discovery of penicillin revolutionized medical treatment, becoming essential in combating bacterial STDs like syphilis and gonorrhea. Prior treatments were often ineffective and painful, involving mercury compounds and other toxic substances. In 1943, penicillin's mass production during World War II curbed the syphilis epidemic, transforming public health strategies. Post-World War II, Alfred Kinsey, an influential sexologist, advanced the understanding of human sexuality, fostering acceptance of sexual health issues. Kinsey's reports from the late 1940s and 1950s offered detailed insights into sexual behaviors, underscoring the value of scientific perspectives on human sexuality. This era marked a shift from punitive, moralistic views to informed, scientific approaches, profoundly altering STD awareness and management. By the 1970s, the sexual revolution increased awareness and dialogue about sexual health, but also led to a surge in STD cases, especially in industrialized nations, exacerbated by more virulent, drug-resistant strains of gonorrhea. The late 20th century saw the emergence of viral STDs, notably HIV, identified in the early 1980s. Unlike bacterial infections, viral STDs integrate into host genomes, posing unique management challenges. HIV, the virus causing AIDS, rapidly became a global pandemic, claiming millions of lives and prompting extensive virology and immunology research. Public awareness campaigns and prevention strategies became crucial in controlling STD spread, emphasizing safe sexual practices and regular screenings. Antiretroviral therapy, introduced in the 1990s, transformed HIV from a fatal disease into a manageable chronic condition. Despite these advancements, social stigmas and cultural beliefs around STDs continue to influence public perception and policy. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, influential figures advanced the understanding and treatment of STDs. Dr. June Osborne, a virologist and public health advocate, was instrumental during the 1980s and 1990s HIV/AIDS crisis. As chair of the National Commission on AIDS, she promoted a scientific, compassionate response, reshaping public perception and policy. The HIV/AIDS emergence underscored the necessity of comprehensive research and education, encouraging global collaboration. Experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci became synonymous with the HIV/AIDS fight, contributing to treatment and prevention. Fauci's work at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases demonstrated dedication to developing antiretroviral therapies. In the 21st century, UNAIDS Executive Director Michel Sidibe and others have spearheaded efforts to end the HIV epidemic, advocating for universal access to testing, treatment, and prevention. Medical innovations continue to evolve, but the legacy of those who champion science and education remains crucial in guiding public health initiatives. The persistent challenge of STDs demands ongoing commitment, with lessons from historical leaders informing future progress. The landscape of sexually transmitted diseases evolves with new challenges and advancements. Technological and scientific innovations lead current STD research, focusing on prevention and vaccines. The human papillomavirus vaccine, introduced in 2006, significantly reduces cervical cancer and other HPV-related conditions. This effort is among the most successful public health campaigns in reducing STD-related diseases. Concurrently, research into vaccines for other STDs, like herpes and HIV, remains vital, despite challenges from these complex viruses. Rapid testing technologies now allow quicker, efficient STD detection, enabling immediate medical intervention. Despite these advances, STD spread is complicated by global mobility, changing sexual norms, and inconsistent healthcare access. The internet and social media have altered how sexual health information and misinformation spread, affecting public understanding and behavior. Comprehensive sex education, promoting informed and safe practices, is crucial, especially in underserved populations where incidences are higher. Addressing these requires a multifaceted approach, combining medical, educational, and socioeconomic strategies to mitigate STD's impact on modern society.